She hit the record button.
I hit the record button. There's no music. It's a little bit different.
Okay.
So Whitney's not cutting up the way that she does.
It's not fun.
Don't you kick off this podcast like that. Don't you do that.
I take it back. Do that. I take it back. We're having a great time.
That's right. We're having a great time.
It's our first podcast.
Welcome,
y'all.
What's up, guys?
What's up? What's
Ladies.
up? Between the Sheets with
Yes.
Lea. I'm your host, and my host, Whitney.
Woo, I'm still here. Yes. WHITNEY, period. Yes.
And we have Trent again. So Trent, you were on the last podcast.
Oh.
That's a child abduction thing. I can't control that one.
Ooh.
That's a child abduction thing.
Please find them.
Please find them. Yes. So we have Trent on the show. And Trent, introduce yourself.
Hello, Lea and Whitney. Thank you for having me back. Yes. My name is Trenton Cotten, and I'm here again.
And you're gonna be here at least through the summer, is what I hear.
Right. That's right. That's right.
Be.
He said at least through the summer.
Oh, so we have a time frame already set up.
Possibly. Put the mic closer to you.
Maybe.
Girl, get your mic set. You're already a vet. You should already know.
It was set.
It needs to be faced towards your mouth.
No, my mic is always to the side.
Is it?
Yes.
All right, well, talk up on the mic, okay? I don't got Dana to tell you anymore, so I'm just gonna be like, make sure you're talking up on the mic.
I'm talking into the mic.
Well, I'm happy. I'm happy that you're here, Trent. I'm excited about kind of what's coming, what's going on. You were on the last one, and that one hasn't quite come out yet, but it will be out by the time that this one comes out. So you'll have already seen it, hopefully. You watched the podcast, Trent?
Right. Have you?
I'm starting to watch the podcast now.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I know the Jules one just dropped today, so I'm definitely going to be watching that one tonight.
Shout out Jules.
Okay. Shout out Jules.
Yep.
Yes,
Davey
ma'am.
0719.
Yes, ma'am.
She was a special guest, so yeah. Well, I told them that I was going to bring it today. So, here's the thing. We talked a little bit last week about transition and how transition is a tough thing sometimes to go through. Growth is hard and whatnot. And I am actually really excited about where we're going with this, because I feel like God really spoke to me this morning and really wants me to kind of bring this back to what it is that I know and what it is that I do and what it is that I'm comfortable with. And so in this transition, I think that God was just kind of telling me, this is the perfect opportunity to bring this back. And I was like, God, what do you mean? And I was playing with the idea, and I'll be honest, and this is what I'm going to tell Whitney right now, because I told her, I said, God spoke to me so heavy this morning, and I was thinking and toying, playing with a name change on the podcast. And I told her that. I says, I don't know. I says, I'm thinking about changing the name of Between the Sheets. And she says, no. And I says, the whole reason of the name Between the Sheets was it's a little bit, sexy, and it ties in with the brand, the Boudoir Suite, and Lea Flores Photography, and everything that I do within that business.
Of course.
And so I was like, I just don't know if that speaks, because we get so deep here and we get so involved here in what it is that we're speaking about. And I just didn't know if that, it is intimate.
Right.
But I didn't know if it was too intimate, especially with some of the conversations that we have. And you know what God told me this morning?
What did he say?
He said, look, I want you to get between the sheets.
Hello.
He said, I want you to get between these sheets right here.
Hello.
And I want you to bring this.
Hello.
And I want you to bring it back into what it is that you know.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, Lord.
I get you. I hear you.
Like, it was huge for me, because I was really toying with the idea of changing the name, because I wanted to reach different people, different, we are we're so diverse here. And I love that. That's what makes the podcast,
what it is.
It is. Yes. And, raw, real, authentic. We're all about that. We all have our own different personalities, our own different perspectives. And this is my perspective, and it's always going to be my perspective. And that's completely okay. You may have a different perspective. That's okay. But this is what I know. And so he said, I want you to bring it back.
Bring it back to what you know.
He says, I want you to bring it back. And he said, and this is the perfect transition to do so.
Ooh.
And I was like, okay, Lord, like, I hear you. And so I also want to say that for whatever reason, and I really feel like, Trent, this might have something to do with you, and it may not. I don't know. I don't know yet.
Take a sip of water real
She's
quick.
coming for you. I told you. I pre-warned you.
But I want to shout out to Dana. I love Dana. We love Dana. We loved having Dana on the set. Here
Love you, Dana.
he brought so much to everything that it is that we did. But he's in a transition himself.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you guys straight up that Dana was not here for video.
No, he was not.
He was not here for video. He wasn't here to make money. He wasn't here to help the business. And those are products of what he brought. That's a product of what he brought into the business. But Dana was here for something else.
Yes.
And it was for a season. And I believe that whatever it was that Dana needed, whether it was healing, whether it was hearing a word, whether it was just being around individuals that could build him up, speak to him, just kind of, speak life to him in the area that he is or was in his life.
Yes.
That was the purpose.
I agree.
And I believe, Trent, you might be in that same boat.
I think I'm starting to see a little bit of a pattern here.
Yeah, I kind of
And
am
you
too.
said it. You said it. You were like, people come here to grow.
Girl, I have that written down right here.
People come here to grow.
And God said, bring it back. Yep.
Yeah, I believe that. I had a conversation with Dana this past weekend. Matter of fact, after I left that business event that I saw you guys
the event
at
that we
on
went to.
Saturday.
Shout out the event.
Yeah, shout out the
Yeah,
event.
that was good.
That was a Thrive Network,
Yes.
Yes.
right? And they were actually had their graduating class
Yes.
that stood up and they just kind of went through their whole celebration, which was amazing to see. And I just want to throw out there too, while we're on that note, and I'm sorry to cut you off, so don't lose your train of thought.
Right.
Thrive is a non-profit organization, and so they go based off of donations and getting help from the community. And what they are doing with these entrepreneurs, these upcoming entrepreneurs, is huge.
It's so important.
And so I want to shout them out. So if you have time or the opportunity or something that you can give to that platform, I highly encourage you to do it, because there's not enough community support out there when you are coming up in the business world.
Absolutely.
Especially now, guys.
We need a lot more local support for our local entrepreneurs.
Yes.
100%. So yes, so take it back. So you were at the
I was after I left there, I connected with Dana to drop him off some footage from one of the shoots that we had last week, and I was talking to Dana about kind of like how the first time I met Dana, he was he was crying in a conversation, and if you have two grown men, it's like that's not a masculine thing to do. And but what Dana told me was, he was like, man, honestly, being around all those women has tapped into emotions I never knew
made his ass soft.
existed. And when he said that, to what you guys were talking about,
Trent
that
was like, oh shoot.
moment of growth,
What did I sign up for?
because I feel like I kind of struggle, and like I don't like showing my emotions, and I feel like
We're gonna figure that out, Trent.
I already
We're
told her.
We're gonna,
we already had a
this
side
is what I do. This is what I do.
It's fine. We got it figured out. We gonna get it taken
No,
care
and
of.
I love that. I love that because, again, I don't think, I don't know if you heard this, and this is why we asked to it. We relate back to a lot of the podcasts every now and then. So we want to know, are you watching? Because you on the podcast. So are you watching? You better watch. Doesn't mean necessarily you have to watch all of them, but you need to watch some of them.
I will be watching one of these every single day.
All right.
There we go.
I catch
Okay.
up.
There we
All
go.
right, there we go. So, God had told me a long time ago when I was in my other home that my house was going to be a lighthouse. He said, your house is going to be called the lighthouse. He said, and many are going to come to it. And at that point in my life, this wasn't even in imagination yet. Like this wasn't even in a forethought. And so I said, you know what, God, if that's your will, then let it be. Let people come, and whatever it is that they need here, let them receive it. Whatever it is that I can give, let them receive it. Whoever it comes, in and out these doors, like it's for your purpose and not mine.
Yes.
And he showed up, and he kept sending individuals, and we joked about that because it was true. At one point, my husband said, "Can you stop praying for that now? Like, can you stop? Like, that's enough."
Shout out to Mando.
And he continues to do so. And so it just all reminded me this transition when God said, look, I'm bringing these people to you. I'm giving you my platform, not your platform. I'm giving you my platform for you to be able to speak about what you know about me. Yes. And I was just like, Lord, forgive me if I haven't been doing
You're
that.
a vessel. You have been doing it.
I hope I have.
I feel
hope
like you have. I've been more in the word, probably more than I've been or when I've needed to since I've been in your company and your presence. So you're doing it for me.
Praise Jesus.
Yeah, and you're definitely doing that through your business.
Absolutely.
Women leave here on a daily basis changed.
Yeah. You got to see
changed
that like firsthand
100%.
yesterday.
Yes.
You got to hear some 2 powerful
Yes.
stories.
I think every time you've been, it's been a powerful message.
Yes.
And what did we tell you? We said like 95% of the women are
Yes.
these stories, you
And-
know, very powerful stories.
And you know, it's always interesting when you come in and you meet these ladies, and Whitney has them in the chair and
Yeah.
they're doing their makeup,
Yeah.
and I look at them. I have no idea why they're here until they sit down on that couch, and then they open up, and I'm just
Exactly.
Whoa.
Yeah.
you know,
Yes. Yeah. So no, I mean, that's definitely a blessing for me. And so I do believe that that's why Dana was here. I think that his time here was very well spent, and that he received what he needed to, and he's on to, you know, to other things.
He
And
was
so,
a seed when he started with you. He out the ground now.
Yeah. Yeah. He's out the ground. That's absolutely right.
little bush.
That's right.
You ain't got no leaves yet, though. Chill out.
So I am changing things up a little bit. So the way that I'm going to kind of do things, it's going to very much be the same. I want this forum to stay the same, and yet I just want to bring it back to what it is that I know. I know we started, and it was actually Dana's idea that we would end each podcast with the scripture. And so I was like, when he said that to me, I was like,
Yeah.
oh God, okay, I see you. You are working.
You're working
like
a
you
little
are.
bit.
You're here. You know. And that was huge for me. That
Yes.
was just a nice reminder that God said, see, I am showing up.
Yes.
Like I am making my way. And I love that. So Between the Sheets is going to be for me, Between These Sheets.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm so glad you got
That's
clarity
more-
on the name.
Yeah,
I
that's
did
more
not.
my speed. 'Cause,
I
you know,
did not.
as a recycled virgin, when you hear something like Between the Sheets, you know, you get a little nervous.
Yes. Well, you know, and it's funny you say that, Trent, because I've had some people, some individuals hit me up, some men.
Right.
And they're like, hey, what's this podcast about?
Right.
Is it like women? And then I was like, no.
You
like,
know what,
have you
though?
listened?
It's happened to me before. I was speaking to somebody on Snapchat last night, and they were watching one of my old clips, and they were like, you know, that name is real dope. I'm like, yeah, it is dope. You should go watch. Because it's not what you think it is.
Right. It's
So let
not
me
what
make you
think
feel
it is.
uncomfortable real quick.
Yeah.
Now you're in between the sheets.
Yeah.
Let's have a conversation.
That's right. I love that. I love it. So, in fact, what I do believe in, and today, like you guys see that I have all of this out, and it's just because another thing, and this is what I'm going back to Trent, is that I always am on a whim. You know, whatever it is that I speak about, it typically is what's going on with life. Yeah. That is the raw, the real, the authentic. It's about what's going on in our life at this particular point. And it just happened to be that there was some transitioning, you know, in and out. And so I was like, all right, God, what is it that you want me to talk about today? Because I'm really like, are we going to still talk about transition? And that was, I told Whitney, I says, we're going to just kind of continue into the transition. And yes, he had a plan for that. But then he brought me back to one of my old, you know, I write down everything in journals and whatnot. So this one says, when God calls you. And I was like, okay, Lord, so what are you saying? Like, you know, do you want me to speak on that?
Right.
You know, when God calls you into a place, into a different place, into something that's unknown, when he calls you. And then I was getting ready and I turned on Michael Todd, the very first one that showed up. No joke, guys. No joke. And this is when, that's confirmation. Yeah. That's when God speaks.
Yes.
We feel like we're going to hear this like loud verbiage, like, you know, hey, you know, and it's like that. It's like God speaks in subtle ways.
Yes.
And I turn it on and the very first one says, when God calls you, Michael Todd.
Ooh.
I was like, what? Okay,
right.
Lord. So this is what we're speaking about. And not only that, but I want to talk about, you know, the transition and all of this is that first and foremost, that there's going to be, many people that are going to come and go into this business, into your life, I'm sure that you guys have already dealt with a multitude of that, right? You kind of spoke a little bit about that with even family members that are, you know, here
coming
and then
going.
gone for whatever reasons. And that's going to continue to happen. But we just have to know that everything always works out according to his good and his plan. And so there is no circumstance. You're going to hear me say that over and over because I truly, within the depths of my heart, believe that there is no circumstance. It's always by divine appointment. Yes. So you are here because you're supposed to be here. You are here because you're supposed to hear something, see something, know something, and you have a surgery coming. And whatever that looks like while we're in this, if you start crying a little bit, then just saying, Trent. Just saying.
Oh,
so
yes.
What I do also want to talk about, aside from transition, is storms. Because, man, this last weekend and this last week for many have been very, very difficult. And, you know, my little cousin Jackie, who, if you had watched the podcast, you know.
We love you, Jackie.
Yes, we love you. Our hearts are with you. Our prayers.
Love you, Jackie.
is going through a really difficult time right now. She just lost her brother this weekend, and they, it's a homicide investigation, found him dead in his home. And, we just had Jackie on 2 weeks ago,
Yep.
And first and foremost, I want to say how proud I am of her that she got up onto that stage and she killed it.
Like nothing.
Yes.
Like it was just nothing. Like her presence and energy and her vibe was so still just on point, just present.
Yes.
About her business. So not selfish at all,
Yeah.
which she could totally take the time right now to be selfish for herself.
And I told her that. I said,
And
are you
she's not.
sure you want to go? I said, are you sure? I said, because nobody's going to think any differently of you if you
Right.
don't.
Yeah.
And she said, no, I need to do this.
Yeah. And I was proud of her for doing that. I told Dana that she was there, and Dana couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're so proud of you, girl.
100% proud of her. But, she is experiencing a storm. And I think that people get it twisted sometimes, that they think that if you are coming up in the word, that if you know Jesus, that if you, have a belief or, whatever it is, that you're not going to have any storms. And that's quite contrary to everything that he says. There's so many storms in each individual's life. I sat with another client that came in yesterday, 3 deaths in her family over the weekend. 3. And she walked in and she looked so heavy and her eyes looked tired. Her husband walked in, his eyes looked tired. And, they started telling me what was going on. One of the little individuals, young boy, AR, went off by accident.
Oh my God.
Shot him. And it was a friend.
Ooh.
Young man. And it just, things like that happen. And you're just like, there's some heavy things that are going on in the world besides, who the hell said something about me on Instagram.
Yeah, these small, minute things that are not even important.
Yes. So I want to talk about that because it's real, and we each have our own little storms, and we need to know, and be able to withstand those storms as well when they come along. So talk to me about some of the storms that you guys have experienced in your life, maybe going through, even right now,
Right.
or have experienced. And if you can even give our listeners, if you have undergone, some sort, certain storm, what got you out of it? What helped you through it? What did you do? What were some of the tools?
One of my biggest storms to date, which I can say that I feel like I'm truly on the other side of it. It's not completely cleaned up yet because, it takes a while to clean up that rubbish afterwards. But my biggest storm was probably my failed marriage. And it was a huge leap. I was married to a woman. I made a huge choice that sacrificed a lot in my life.
I'm so proud of you for saying that for the first time on
Yes,
the podcast.
ma'am. Yeah.
It is. It's literally because when she would talk about it, she'll say I was married before. I was married the individual.
Yes.
This
Significant
is the first
other.
time, and I'm so proud of you for saying that.
But no, and that's where I say my storm came from, is because I prayed and chewed on accepting that relationship and struggled with my faith for a long time because of that. That's not how I was raised. I've never dated, out of my sex before. So to take that jump was huge. I lost family. I lost friends. I lost a lot within that. So to have that ripped from me, and then to be told after the fact that is your punishment, that's what was coming to you because that wasn't what you were supposed to be doing in the first place.
Wow.
To try to have to heal from that and almost have a level of guilt at God. Are you punishing me? Did I make the wrong decision? Is this why my life is in turmoil right now? And he never left my side. He never left my side. He was always in the floor background. Are you gonna pay attention to me? Are you gonna listen to me? I'm trying to steer you in the right direction, but you keep taking your own choices. I'm still here. But that was probably my biggest struggle. And coming back and realizing that I really didn't do anything wrong, and understanding that, and not feeling guilty for my choices.
Yeah.
Because I chose to love somebody. That's all it boils down to. And that's what had that thought process in my mind. I kept saying, God, you sent your son to teach us how to love. Who am I to make the judgment or the pass of that this is the wrong person to love? Make that make sense to me. I can't. So that's what I learned and
that's
took
the real
into my
right
lesson.
there.
That's what I took from that lesson was, if you lead with love and intention, you can't go wrong. And if he's behind you, you can't go wrong. He hasn't let me fall since then.
Yes.
Even though I felt like I fell a couple of times.
That's all right. You are
Scrape
on your
my
path.
knees up a little bit. I'm back on the path that I should have been on
Yeah.
the entire time. So you can get through it.
Yes.
Even
Love
when you feel
that.
like you're at your lowest, you
Love
can
it.
get through it.
And that's tough though. When we make, choices in our lives based on love, but then that choice that we make based on love, when they draw lines in sand, or lines in sand between the other ones we love, like that's tough.
It's hard.
Because we're conditional love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Us humans are conditional love, and as much as we want to say that we're not, we do love with conditions.
Yes.
And Jesus didn't.
At all.
Like-
And that's what I kept saying to myself. Like, you love me unconditionally through it all. So how am I judging myself over this?
Yeah.
This is crazy. No.
Yes.
No.
What about you, Trent? Hot seat.
Storms. I
Hot
feel.
seat.
I would say to this point, the biggest storm that I've ever, faced in my life was definitely the one that happened, I would say, in January of this year.
Wow.
Recent.
Yeah, recent.
Super recent.
I was living in Seattle for 8, years, and I thought everything was going great. I loved my career. It was in sports marketing. It was great. And then all of a sudden the pandemic came and then sent me back to Colorado Springs. And I grew up here, and I did not like Colorado Springs growing up. So I was not happy about coming back at all. I mean, I had to go home and live with my mom and, stepdad. And now that I'm kind of on, and it's like the same thing you just said,
Yeah.
Whitney, I'm not on the other side of the storm. We're still working on it. But, we found out we had there was a dark secret in my family that affected, my sister. And she finally, revealed what this dark secret that she was, holding for so long. And it caused we had to remove a family member, from our family. And, it's crazy to think about now that I'm kind of talking about it out loud. Sometimes that emotion thing, like, it's very hard for me to tap into my emotions. And in these moments, like, when my sister revealed this dark secret, any normal human being would have been pouring tears right along with this person. Right. But I was unable to. It wasn't until 2 days later, I'm in my car, getting ready to go somewhere, and then it hits me all at once, and I'm pouring out, and and it was almost this moment of relief where I'm like, oh, okay, I am human. I can cry, and now I was able to slowly kind of help be the anchor for my family to get us through this dark time. And then I start to realize, again, it's kind of like what you were saying, questioning, man, God, why, why are you doing this to me? Me, oh my. But now I have this, now that we're about 9-10 months, on the other side, it's like, oh, this is why I was supposed to come to Colorado Springs to be with my family,
Present.
to deal with this thing. Because
And
if
one
I
of those
wasn't here,
situations that I said all the time, if we're not listening to God, he is so funny. He will remove you to bring you present. Okay, you don't want to listen to me? I'm going to take from you so you can pay attention to what I'm trying to do for you. He moves swiftly.
Yes.
And has no regard for what your plans are.
Right.
Because it's about his plan.
yeah.
But it always works out.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's always and what I'll say, and I know that many people will disagree with me, but we think of the form of punishment, and it's just the journey.
Yeah.
It's the journey, and it's everything is the way that it's supposed to be.
Yes.
And we can get caught up in those feelings of, dang, man, I gotta leave this place, and I don't want to go here, and and then come in with a bad attitude, even just I hate Colorado, whatever.
Right.
And then God reveals, look, you were supposed to be here. You were supposed to be here for this specific reason and for this specific season. You know what I mean?
And I'm going to reward you for what you're doing.
Yes.
And that's how I feel, because now it's okay, now here's this individual
Opportunities,
named Jules,
opportunities.
here's Dana, here's Lea,
Yes.
here's Whitney, here's comedy, here's this. And it's and it was, I promise you, I did not step on a comedy stage until after that came out in our family. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That's crazy.
So this comedy is that new for you?
Yes, I
Dabbled?
dibbled and dabbled in Seattle, but not enough to be, that I thought I was going to, take it serious.
Yeah.
It wasn't until this happened. And then I feel then it was presented to me okay, now that you felt that pain, it's almost in a weird way, it was something that I needed
Yeah.
in order to be whatever I'm going to
I'm
be.
glad that you
Necessary,
experienced that, because, you know, it is, I think when we continue to tell ourselves things like, you know, am I even human? Can I even experience these emotions? Like, what's wrong with me? But we keep feeding that. It's those thoughts again that we're feeding, whether good or bad, and they do not discriminate. So your thoughts will go either which way you allow them to. And if we continue to feed ourselves like, I'm not a human, I can't cry, then you won't.
You're speaking that into existence.
Do you know what I mean? Like, yes, because you're saying it, you're speaking it. And we don't realize how powerful our very words are. Like, we need to be careful with the things that come out of our mouth. The word says that the tongue is the strongest of all the muscles. It's the tiniest and the strongest of all the muscles, because it can set a forest aflame.
Yes.
It can also bring life to a situation, you know. But the little minute things that we say, like, we just say them so randomly sometimes, and we don't even realize the outcome of what it is that we're speaking. And so instead we start saying things like, I am human. I am, you know, I do feel these emotions. I can, you know, cry. Whatever that looks like for you is so amazing.
Yes.
You know, so I'm glad that you experienced that. And whether it's alone or in the company of somebody else like that, you are, you know, you may have some digging to do. You know, we got those roots that run deep, and we have to go and dig and figure out why. Right. And that's typically what I'll ask people when I'm hearing about their story. Well, why? And then even further, well, why? You know, and then let's go a little bit further. Why? Because there's more to it than just that. You know,
like an onion, you gotta peel it back.
Right.
Yes, and then it's kind of almost like
That's what it is.
Dang, there it is. You know, and I love those conversations, because those are the raw moments, and those are the very vulnerable moments.
Yeah. So, you know, when you mentioned, you know, when God calls you, sometimes I think about, like, do you have to be in a right, I guess, place to even hear?
Oh no.
Heck no.
Oh no.
Heck no. God will use anything, anyone, any individual. How he used a donkey to speak to somebody. Do you know what I mean? And he uses the craziest people inside of the word. So, and just to answer your question as best as I can, between these sheets, is that
Nice little plug.
there was an individual named Saul, and this dude was killing women. He was burning down churches. He hated the name of Jesus. He didn't want anything to do with them. He thought it was all contrary to, you know, what his beliefs were, what he was taught to him. He was living life, you know, and doing what he thought he needed to do. And God stopped him dead in his tracks on his way to go burn another church. And he basically told him, stop. Why are you persecuting me? He said, Saul, why are you persecuting me? Asked him dead on. And stopped him dead in his tracks. And he said, stop, I want you to turn around. I want you to do something else. Just right there, just like that. It didn't matter his circumstance. It didn't matter what it was. And I think that is a such a misconception, that people think that you have to come to the throne. Right. No. That's so far. Like, he's not coming for the saved.
No.
He's coming for the people that don't know, you know.
He's going to come to you at your... Well, he came to me. I'll speak on that. At my lowest moments is when he speaks to me. Like, what are you doing?
Yes.
And it can be the most minute thing of a situation. Like what I was talking about prior to. Was on a 3-day binge of not eating, just going through it, feeling like my life was coming apart. And I have history of cutting in my past. And all it took was for my friend to come in and was like, what are you doing? That was God. You can't tell me anything else other than that was God stepping in and going, what are you doing?
And many times you don't see that until
After the
other
fact.
side.
Right. Yeah.
You see it and it comes and connects after the fact. And you're like, that's where you were.
There you were.
You say it all the time. He was here when this happened. He was here in this person. He was doing this with this person. He's not going to come to you directly like.
Yes.
And I feel like a lot of times, because I know with me, you know, God could be calling, but you might not recognize that phone call.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
100%.
So, like you say, sometimes you got to be burnt and all that thing to finally be
Yes.
like, oh, I got like 100 missed
He
calls.
wants us to come on our knees sometimes.
I hope we don't got to get to that point. That point is not comfortable.
Right about that.
Not comfortable.
It's
Right
not,
about
but
that.
sometimes that's how you. Sometimes that's how he takes you.
You know, so these individuals that, you know, I just even experienced this weekend and just, you know, feeling their pain, their burdens. It was like, man, they are going through something right now. And that burden is real. It's strong, you know. But what I also want you guys to understand is that when we're talking about this is that, you know, I said this in one of the podcasts, is that Jesus had 12. He had 12 different individuals that he chose to ride out this journey with him. And he needed that.
Yes.
He needed those individuals. And that's powerful because, you know, Jesus needed them. Like, I mean, beyond powerful to understand that you know, Jesus who walked the earth, who did the healings, who did, you know, he needed these individuals. He said, ride with me.
He still needed riders.
Yes. And he was like, get in the boat, like come into the boat.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And everybody that, you know, is in your boat may not be who is supposed to be in your boat.
What? Yes.
At the end of the day,
They're not supposed to be there, and they will wean themselves out.
And that doesn't mean that's a good or a bad thing. So I'm going to take it in two different directions here, okay? There are going to be some people that are in your boat that are not supposed to be in there, and they're weighing that boat down. They're sinking your boat, okay? Time to go, time to boot them out. Use your foot, do whatever you got to do, right? But there's also some people that are in your boat that come and go. You know what I mean? Maybe you're going on a destination, and this is their stop. That's it. Time to get off.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. What's up, Dana?
Oh,
We had Dana just stopping in really quick. Saying hi.
us. Aw.
Sometimes they get back on.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think that's really it's a powerful testimony in itself because not everybody. Right there.
Y'all talk about transitions.
Yeah.
I don't know what y'all talking about. I love y'all.
We did a good shout out to you this morning, Dana. We love
We
you.
did.
We do. We love Dana Keith. We do. But I want you to understand that there are people that you think that may be on your boat and you think that they're supposed to be there, but you're going into the deep sometimes. And I know that I'm going into the deep. The message that I got, just in case you missed it, between the sheets is actually, Dana, look, Dana, is between these sheets. God spoke to me this morning.
What?
Woo, God spoke to me this morning. And where I'm going is deep.
Yeah.
It's deep waters. And not everybody is made for those deep waters. My boat was not built for everybody.
Yeah.
And all of those individuals that sometimes I try to take along, they can actually delay your destination.
Yes.
Okay, that committee of people that you want to take on the journey with you, that you desire to take on the journey with you, they can actually delay your destination where God called you to.
She
Specifically.
just spoke that present into my life a couple weeks ago.
How so?
Oh, he wants to know. Go ahead, girl. Get the real.
I mean, how so?
Look, I mean, I was in a situation with a friend at the time that I'm a fixer. So I surround myself
Ooh,
around
she is a
people
fixer. I
that
have realized
love
that
to
about
fix.
Miss Whiney is a fixer.
I am a fixer at heart, and I don't always do it with the best intentions. Sometimes
You do
I
it with
usually
the best
do.
intentions, just doesn't always end up for
It
with the
doesn't
best intentions.
end up for me like that. However, she's seen this person becoming a toxin in my life, and she was just like, I just don't see light coming from that person, and it's changing you. It should not be changing you. And that was before anything even hit the fan with that person.
I just asked. I just wanted to know, like, hey, who is this individual?
This was
what do they mean
weeks
to you in
prior
your
to
life?
it blowing up in my face, and she
Right.
was on it. That's not for you. That's not for you. I promise you're going to be okay.
Well, I
but
think
that's
that
not for
there's
you.
a lot of things that when you have individuals, you have to first ask yourself, what are they bringing into my life that's
Right.
beneficial? Number one.
Yeah.
And that may sound selfish to some people.
Yeah.
But what is it that they are bringing into my life that's beneficial? What is it that they're bringing into my life that is edifying? How are they building me up?
Am I surrounding myself with people that are where I want to be, or am I surrounding myself with people that are going to keep me complacent and stagnant?
Can I ask this question? Can you establish those same standards to family members?
Oh,
Yes.
100%.
What?
Yes.
I have removed all my family. I don't speak to none of my family. I do not speak to my mom, my brother, my dad. I have no direct family contact with anybody because they are toxic. And I cannot be the person that I need to be with toxic people around me. And that means anybody. Anybody can get it.
You said the same thing, and it was something that I had heard, but I said it at the speech too, is that sometimes you cannot be who you're called to be, your true authentic self in the environment that you were produced in.
What?
Yeah, I felt that. I got goosebumps right now because that's something that I'm kind of, going through right now. I have he's not going to watch this, but I got a cousin. He lives
You don't
in
know
Fort
if he's going to
Collins.
watch it or not.
Right. You better speak.
He lives in Fort Collins, runs a barbershop, very successful. The only black ran barbershop in Fort Collins. So it's a big deal. Shout out Colorado Cuts.
Colorado Cuts. Shout out Fort Collins.
If you're in Fort Collins, and
that's a predominantly white college town.
For sure it is.
Yeah.
And he's, we're a year apart, and I love my cousin to death, but man, when he gets around, he is so overpowering. He has a lot of things that he's dealing with as well, and he just the last time I saw him was my birthday weekend, actually, and I didn't want to celebrate my birthday. I had like 2 comedy shows that weekend.
Wait, I don't know if that's right. Did you say I saw or I seen?
I saw.
My mom will get my ass, boy. She will get me. Like, that's one thing that she will get me on. So I better just stop right there. So I saw Jules' little post about she was in the car with you and she was like, you looked like you were miserable.
Oh, yeah.
And she said you did not want to celebrate your birthday.
I didn't. I just wasn't in the celebratory mood, I suppose. And, I had a lot going on we all do, right? But I just wasn't in the mood, and my cousin was trying to, and I told my cousin that, but he was trying to push it, and he wanted to plan a surprise birthday party. And again, he doesn't hang out with me enough to know like my schedule, and even I don't even Jules is probably, if you want to plan a surprise birthday party, you should have contacted Jules because she probably knows more about what I have going on in my life.
Yeah, that's probably not a best thing to do right now.
And it was just this chaotic moment of we was trying to do it, and I'm like, oh my God, why am I feeling like it's supposed to be my birthday? Right. But it's like this individual has, and I love my cousin to death, and I know he loves me, and I know his intentions are always, they're meant good. But I feel like there's a saying, like, sometimes your best intentions are paved with, like, what is it? Paved to go, or a paved road to, it'll take you on a paved road to hell. Something like that.
Bad intentions. Yes.
Well, let me just stop you right there because, I read a book just recently that said good intentions are not love. Yeah. Action is.
Yes.
So your intentions are shit. I hate to say it, but you know what I mean? You could have good intentions about something, but if you don't act on it, then it means nothing.
Yeah. So I guess I'm in this place where, because I'm not going to say my cousin is a toxic individual. He has toxic tendencies.
But that's the raw and that's the real. So let's keep it real.
And you're right. We all do. So I'm trying to get to this place where I don't want to necessarily cut them out, but it's like create these maybe boundaries.
You have to create boundaries.
And that's where
And the people that love you and truly want to see you succeed and know what you're going through will be okay with that.
Yeah.
There should be no explanation.
And the ones that don't are getting off the boat.
There it is.
What was that scripture that you were talking about last time? When he came in the house and Jesus was like, you got to go.
Yeah, he told everybody to leave.
You got to leave.
He said, because if you're going to be negative, or they were negative, or they were like, why weren't you here earlier? You were supposed to be here, and what are you going to do now? And he said, everybody out the house. He says, I'm about to do something right here, and you guys can't be in here. So he made everybody leave the room.
Yes.
So that he could do what he needed to do.
But it was that part that got me. It was, if you could explain to someone who loves you that you need boundaries, and if they love you back, they will be able to accept that and respect that. But
Absolutely.
if they can't, then they got to get off the boat. Yes, time to get off the boat. I like that. I like that.
Love you from a distance, but you got to go.
That's right. That's right. So, wow, Trent. So January was a big transition for you and a big storm for you. And
what's crazy is about this and how the storm came about, my whole entire family, including my daughter, who lives in Seattle, and this individual who's no longer a part of our family, we drove to Phoenix, Arizona for New Year's, and we got rented a Airbnb, big old mansion house, and we had the best time together. Like, it was like, wow,
and that I don't remember. Was there?
And that individual was there, and I kid you not, a week when we get back, boom, everything hit the fan. And it was like this Last Supper kind of feeling.
Because it sounds like people were tired of faking the funk.
Yes. And I think that's what, I think my sister was like, everybody else, she's like, I can't do this anymore. Everybody else is
having a great time.
Right.
I'm
and
done.
She was
but
in there
feeling
suffering.
Uncomfortable, or she's feeling like, what I mean?
Yes.
You never know.
Yes. And I'm actually thinking about like processing it like right now. I was like, wow, that was a magical week. And then literally a week later,
it was a magical week for you.
Right. But
you never know.
Yeah, you don't ever know what somebody's going through.
You never
within
know.
these storms. I think that's a good point as well. Is just that, you know, individuals are going to be going through it, and sometimes you just don't know. We talked a little bit about that. You know, gosh, if you guys hadn't seen that post that Dana put up the other day, that was sad.
Yeah.
Holy crap, that was sad.
Which
I don't know
one?
if you read it or not, but man, like I read it and all I could do was heart it. I couldn't even respond to it just
Right.
because I was just like,
yeah.
you know, him and I had spoke about, you know, some of that stuff, and you know, we had a conversation about that, which I was even surprised to hear about and hear him say it. You know, to
Right.
begin with, I was like, I couldn't picture that, but you know,
Right.
when somebody's feeling depressed or suicidal, or you typically don't know because there's a good facade going on.
Yes.
You know, or I'm okay, everything's okay. And during these storms, I think, you know, and even if you don't know, is to check in on people.
Yes.
You know, we're so distracted by everything we're doing in our life. And the biggest thing that we need is relationship. It's the only thing that sustains human beings. And the more and more that we get away from it, the more and more that we, you know, are chasing a computer or chasing somebody else's life or what they're doing, it's so less authentic.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And we're on it for hours upon hours
And it
upon
hardens
hours.
you. It hardens your
It
heart.
does.
It hardens your emotions. It makes you unrelatable. Like you
Makes it easier to respond.
Yes.
You hear all the computer gangsters, you know,
Yes.
it's so quick to respond to things. It's just because there's no more filters anymore.
Yeah.
I could say
Right.
whatever it is that I want to say to you behind a screen,
Right.
you know, and it's the relationships are what matter. And so if we could just feed those relationships to make sure that we're reaching out to the people that we truly care about, you know,
Yes.
the people, we have to make time. We have to make time because people are going through stuff right now. They are going through heavy circumstances right now. And maybe it's not so heavy. Maybe there's just something that like, man, I just, you know, maybe I wanted to vent today. Maybe I
Right.
needed something and I didn't have that person to do so. We need to be able to be there for them,
Yes.
you know, and for me, just showing up even to Jackie's, you know, I know
Yes.
that there's nothing I can say to her in this moment. I know that there's nothing I can give her a hug. I can embrace her. And in fact, I told Reina, I was talking on the phone with her, and she just says, gosh, I'm lost for words. I don't know what to say. Like my heart goes out for her. And I said, you know, sometimes there's nothing that you can say. And in fact, the word says that when Job was experiencing everything that he experienced, God had allowed, you know, not that God did it, God had allowed the enemy to come into his life and just kind of rip it from him 100%. It says that his friends came and just sat with him.
Yep.
They didn't even speak a word. They just sat with him. And sometimes that's all individual needs in a storm is just for you to sit with him. One of the biggest storms of my life was, you know, within my marriage. And we were 3 years into marriage, and, you know, some stuff hit the door. And it was a whirlwind of a life-changing event for me, you know, because you're comfortable, you think everything is the way that it's supposed to be, you're just going through life and the motions, and you feel good, and you're doing things that, you know, you think you're supposed to do. We bought a house, we had a car, we're doing this, and then boom, something hits your door. And life, you know, you plan it all you want, and it'll get you. It'll get you. And boy, that next few years, you know, were some of the most difficult and trying times of my life, and having to go through it. And I had to cuss, and I had to scream, and I had to hit, and I had to cry, and I was smoking like a chain. And I had to go through all of those emotions to get through it. But, you know, it took one individual to say, stop. You know, let me invite you into church. And I'm not saying that church is the end all for everybody. It's not 100%. I don't go to church any longer to, I believe that we are the church. Yes. I believe that God can speak to you and at any point in your life. I believe that if I get into my word right now, that he can tell me more than any pastor can tell me.
Right. You don't got to wait for Sunday.
No, you don't. You don't have to. I love that. You don't have to wait for Sunday. You can hear it anytime, any place. You know what I mean? If you are tuned to it.
Right.
And I said that the other day. I says, I want to make sure that I stay attuned to what God says, not consumed by everything else.
Hello.
And it took one individual though to really say, hey, you know, this is what's good. Like, I want to invite you, and everything else kind of played out. Not the way that I foresaw it, you know what I mean? But everything worked out the way that it was supposed to. But in that time, I had individuals that came to my house and sat with me. I had, people that I spoke to. I had the friend that said, let's ride.
Right.
I ain't gonna lie.
Let's go do what we need to do.
Like, what do you want to do?
Say the word.
Pull up and hop out. Let's go.
Then I had a friend that was like, no, let's take this back. You know what I mean?
I'm that friend.
I'm not that friend. What are we going to do? Let's go get into some trouble real quick.
Yes.
I got you.
So I had all of those individuals, which is so important to me through that storm. And I would not take that storm back in my life. Because it is who made me who I am today.
Yes.
And it is my, my marriage is stronger.
That's the compassion of people.
We are today.
That's the compassion of people that you need.
See, you just said something that, clicked with me. You said where you're at today, where you're at with your family, your marriage is stronger because of all that stuff that you guys had to go through.
Yes.
And Whitney, I'm sure you could say who you are.
Oh my God, it's made me probably not who I thought I would be, but the strength that I have now,
Right.
I would have never imagined being this strong of a woman.
Right. And
never.
For me, it's like, for me to have the courage to face that family member, right? Getting on stage and telling comedy in front of strangers is nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
That vulnerable state that it put you in.
So you did face that family member?
Oh yeah, I had to. There was no man. I'm now the head man of the family. So I had to face him.
Yeah.
And I did.
Facing those moments are, they can be so like growth changing and just like informative for you to become a different person. But there's a reason. Like, there's a reason why you were that person at that moment for your sister. So, and that's making you who you are right now.
Yeah. Wow.
God does nothing without intention.
Yes. Woof. I'm telling you guys, like I just, everything that I was feeling, I mean, it just all lines up, I do want to also just kind of bring it back to the storm that the disciples went through, because we, again, often think that because we are close with God, have a relationship, maybe some people are going to church Monday through Sunday. Right. It doesn't make a difference. Like, storm's going to hit. That's a promise, is that you're going to hit some kind of, something that happens into your life. It's what it is that you do with it that defines the outcome. And sometimes Jesus calls us into the storm. Like,
come out here with me.
Yes.
We got to go through this together.
Yes. And we have to remember that, he's not going to take us anywhere that he can't lead us out of.
Yep.
But sometimes he calls us into it.
And sometimes it's necessary.
Yes. And that could be with business. That can be with relationship. That can be with, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that he's calling you guys into a bad relationship either for all of you single people. I'm not saying that. Do not twist my words up.
I'm going out to the storm this weekend, Lea.
No.
What's our girl's name who's going through it with baby? Like, really?
Oh,
really?
Yes. He's putting her through a storm right now.
Yeah.
But she needs to.
That's a whole crazy
She needs to. She needs to go through it.
Yes,
it's necessary.
That is a crazy thing. But no, we just have to remember that God will call us out into the storm sometimes. And so, in fact, when this all happened, and just what brought me even to the boat, the whole idea of the boat and who's on your boat and who's rowing with you and who gets on and who gets off and all of these different things.
Who are you giving responsibility for?
Yes. It all brought me back to the storm. And I was like, man, you want strong individuals with you when you're going through with it.
Right.
You want them around you. You want people that are, because when that hits the fan, and it will hit the fan, who are you going to have on your boat with you? And that is a good question to ask yourself right now. If you guys can think individually of even 3 people, 4 people, if you could think of one, that's great. But if you have a couple that you can think of right now, like, I know this person's got me. I know that this person's rowing when I can't. I know that this person is kind of taking over this ship when I can't. And if you can't do that, you're in a tough spot right now.
You need to reevaluate some things.
That's crazy. And so when this storm happened, mind you, this was right after God, Jesus had went out and he had actually fed thousands and thousands of people. Well, what happened was that he was overwhelmed. Jesus was overwhelmed.
Well, they chastised him. They chastised him at that Thanksgiving.
Well, not only that,
they were putting him down like crazy.
They wanted
How are you going to feed all these people?
They wanted more. They wanted
Yes.
more. They wanted more. Sometimes you give and you give and you give, and people want more. And he just needed to be away for a minute. He needed to be away from the noise and the distraction. And so he told the disciples, he said, go out on the boat.
Right.
You don't think that God knew that there was a storm coming? You don't know that he could predict the weather, that his hand was not, you know what I mean? Like that he didn't know what was going on. And so he called them out onto the boat and he went with them. And not only that, but what I love about, and I'm sure that you guys have heard it multiple times. Maybe you haven't, but you know, they're all on this boat together and they're riding it out, and all of a sudden the winds kick up and it starts getting crazy out there. That, you know, that the clouds are getting lower. You imagine the rain just hitting back and forth. They are in the midst of a storm and Jesus is sleeping. He's chilling.
He's tired.
He's chilling. Well, why? Why could he sleep, and why did these guys start freaking out? Because there was no first and foremost faith that, like, okay, what would you?
We're going to get through this.
We're going to get through this.
Said that.
There was no faith that we're going to get through this. Jesus had all the faith in the world. He knew that where he was taking them, he was going to be able to lead them. Like, he was never leaving.
Right.
So he was sound asleep, and they were freaking out. And in the storm, we can freak out. And in the midst of things, we can lose our faith. We can lose the idea that we're going to make it through. We can't see the other side. Sometimes we become so blinded to what's over here.
Yes.
You know? And that whole testament, even that in itself, if you guys remember, there was another story where Jesus walked on water. And he called out and said, walk with me. He never said anybody's name. Do you guys know that? He never said, you know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he did specifically call out Peter. I may have it wrong.
I think he specifically did call eventually.
I don't know, because I know that there was 12 and only Peter went.
Yes.
Okay, only Peter was. So either, and so correct me, I'm sorry for all my Bible thumpers out there if I'm getting this wrong. But I believe that he just said, come to me. And Peter was the only one that got up and walked to him. And as far as I remember, that it wasn't exclusive. It was an open invite. And he got up and he walked. And he looked at Jesus and he saw him. And not only was Jesus walking on water, but Peter began to walk on water. But it was right at the moment that he took his eyes off of Jesus and got distracted.
He fell.
That he started to sink. And so we have to stay focused in the storms. And that would be my biggest giveaway, is that if you're going through it right now, that if you are experiencing something right now, it can be, you know, something like what your sister has experienced, because that is a prolonged event. It does not go away.
Ever.
It's something that is almost, it tarnishes you in some way. It gives you skewed ideas and a mentality, but there is a way, that there is a hope, you know, that is on the other end of it if you allow it to be. And I just want to remind somebody that whatever it is that you're going through, that there is so much hope, and you need to go out and find that, whether it's an individual, whether it's somebody that comes, knocks at your door and just says, I'm going to be here for you. That's God showing up. Look out for those things. And I want you guys to do the same thing. I want you guys to give our listeners something that they can take from this podcast, because somebody's going through it right now.
Yes.
I guarantee you somebody's going through a storm. Somebody's going through maybe a little storm, and somebody's going through a really, really, really big storm, and they don't know what to do.
My giveaway would be when you're at your lowest point and you just feel like everything is just consumed. Don't shut the door. Don't shut people out.
Oh, isolation.
Please stay open. Try to stay, even if it makes you feel uncomfortable, even if it takes you out of that safeness that you're trying to give yourself. Just don't
get on
enclose.
somebody's boat.
Yes, don't enclose. Don't enclose. Don't separate yourself, because it leads to more destruction.
Isolation is exactly where the enemy wants you to be.
Yes.
Alone.
Yes.
I love it. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What you got, Trent?
Gosh, my giveaway would have to be, you know, that faith part. You know, when you're going, you know, when it's dark and you're going through that darkness or that hard times, and even And it doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, faith in God or Jesus or the Bible. I know there's a bunch of people who aren't really religious, but having faith in something yourself.
Yes.
You know, listening to, you know, some of those women yesterday and they're giving those messages to themselves. It's like having, if at anything, just having the faith in yourself.
I love that.
To get through that and the belief that you're going to get through that, because that definitely will help you get to the other side.
Believe
but
in yourself when no one else does. Yes. I love that. That's powerful.
Yes, it is.
Well, I do want to end on this scripture,
Yes.
and I don't have it right in front of me. I just know that it's in the book of Proverbs, and it kind of lines up with what you said. It kind of lines up with what you say. It's like, don't shut the door, don't give up, have faith, and that basically is this: that hope deferred makes the heart sick.
Ooh.
Hope deferred makes the heart sick, and so really just what that means in general for anybody that doesn't understand it is that if you have a hope in something but you're deferring it, it's going to make you sick. So keep that faith, keep that hope, keep that thing alive, you know, whatever it is, whatever it takes for you. If you need to, you know, we talked about that on one of the prayer, whether it's get on and listen to inspirational music, whether it's a testimony, whether it's YouTube and you're working out and you know, one of my favorites is Billy Alsbrook. Shout out to Billy Alsbrook. I love that man. He gets me hyped.
Yeah.
He gets me hyped because he adds in scripture with, you know, some music and some poetry.
Right.
I love that. So, you know, definitely do that.
Find something. Yes.
I'm excited for what's coming, Trent.
Yes.
We're excited that you're here.
Yeah, this was a good conversation. I
was
appreciate you,
good.
Leah and Whitney.
Absolutely.
Thank
We're going to keep diving in. We're going to keep diving into who Trent is, especially for our listeners, because, you know, it's important that our listeners get to know you.
We get to know his background story,
His
so
story,
get ready.
this comedian story.
Dana's was 2 episodes.
Yeah. So we're gonna go deep if you're ready for it.
Yes, we
We're
got
gonna
to.
I'm ready.
All right.
I'm
Okay.
ready.
He said he's ready.
Right.
So Dana
I'm
was
ready.
trying to like prolong 3 weeks. Remember, he was like, no. We'll go 1, then another 3 weeks. We're like,
After my conversations with Dana, it's best not to just fight.
good.
That's kind of the conclusion I
You're
get.
not gonna win.
I love that. I'm glad that he left off on that.
I'm not fighting no more.
So until next time, guys, it's Between the Sheets.
We love
with
you
Leah. I have my
guys.
co-host. You
Love y'all.
guys,
This is
much
good.
love.
See you next time.
Yes. There you go. Oh, look at Trent. Trent, you gotta get your own move.
I know.